several children get caught up in a government conspiracy while they harbor a telekinetic child. This is Stranger Things, and this is You Should Be Watching.
Came up with the show in a way to kind of show what shows we like and kind of give the audience an idea of how we pitch the shows to each other on a daily basis. And this is how we kind of came up with the show. So now Eddie and Jobby are going to try and pitch Stranger Things to me. Because I've watched the first episode, but I'm kind of wishy-washy on whether I want to watch the entire season.
Because he's fucking wrong.
You can look at that.
Because he's fucking wrong.
By the
We're
way,
gonna prove him.
this camera's yours.
Yeah, I was doing like little faces at it this whole time.
Why are you wishy-washy?
Okay.
Yeah, bitch.
So we know what points to attack.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm not a big fan of kids in visual media.
Fiction.
Yeah.
Like visual.
In film, movies,
Porn.
Animated is okay. Oh, Jesus.
Let's not go there.
I mean, that's true, though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That's accurate.
That's accurate.
Animated, I mean, is a whole different story. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of kids, I guess, younger than, I don't want to, like, let's say 18 in any form of television or film show.
In general, you're not a fan of child actors.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my rebuttal to that is that actually not quite a rebuttal, because I actually agree with you on the fact that I think the majority of child performances I've seen in fiction have been kind of subpar, but there are exceptions. You know what I mean? There are these like diamond in the pile of shit that is child performances. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Okay.
Stranger Things happens to be one of them. These kids are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like all of them are like all feel genuine. You don't get that quality that the child is being whipped off stage to perform their lines. And you know, some movies you get that quality.
Fucking shit.
The Phantom Menace, anybody? That child was fucking whipped probably. Those yippies were not real. I can guarantee it.
Favorite characters in the whole show. I think which is another, I guess, thing you had, an issue you had with the show, the way she looks.
Yeah, just only because, which is might sound kind of sexist of me.
It is.
Because
It's okay. You've already dug that hole like long ago. We're already like hardcore misogynists by now. So
true.
go for
But
it.
Meninist or whatever.
I guess
yeah.
I don't like the fact that she's bald, but I mean, counter why that doesn't matter in the show.
That doesn't matter because the writing and the acting and the character herself is just fucking great.
Yeah.
Such like a.
I think it feeds into her.
character.
It feeds into her development.
Exactly. Yeah. And
as
there's
a
a
character.
story-based reason why she's bald. So yeah.
Keep talking about why. I mean,
Well, I think she's one of the best parts of the show. Like that actress did a really good job. Her character. You asked me before. Like she has very little dialogue in the first episode, and she kind of has very little dialogue throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't need it. Like her body language, the way she her expressions. She's like top-notch actress.
Visual acting.
Yeah,
Like just
she didn't need to
through.
say anything. You could see it in her eyes. You could see it in the way she interacts with other characters.
Mm-hmm.
Her story is like it's really sad, but like you get that. I feel for her.
I think honestly, like that character, her name is 11, by the way,
Or L.
or L
We
for
can call her
short.
L.
Yeah, 11. Her like I feel that character and that performance is like the best one
Yeah.
of the show, like in my opinion.
At least for me, two of the best ones were her and the sheriff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's really
David
fucking
Harbour. It's awesome.
The dude, the suit in
Suicide
Squad.
Squad. Yeah,
That's right.
his most famous role.
No, it's this one now.
Yeah, exactly.
At the beginning, you get this sense where like he not that he cares very little about his job, but he's just kind of like pretty chill.
Yeah.
And then once you realize something's going on, he like gets into his like full cop mode.
Right.
And then his backstory is also
kind
really interesting.
Feeds into the conflict of the show overall.
Okay, so
and he's kind of morally ambiguous to a point too. But that's
to a point.
You see at the end what I mean by that.
let's keep touching on my one the little kids.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
They work well within the story.
Yeah.
They work well within the story with each other, the way they interact with other adults, even.
And their performances are okay.
Yeah.
No, not just okay. They're great.
I don't know if that's necessarily his performance or the character they wrote. Lucas, the what's his name? I'm just say Black Kid. His character get kind of annoying towards, I guess.
But that's just kind of like that's the archetype of that kind of
Yeah,
character.
that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily his performance. His performance was good, but the kind of character was like he's highly skeptical.
Exactly, he's
always,
a skeptic.
Yeah, but like really fucking.
He's the contrarian.
Yeah,
pretty much
for the whole time. He's like, why the fuck are we trusting this girl? She's a fucking freak. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it works well. Yeah, believable.
Yeah, really believable.
Cool. I guess part 2 of why I don't like, or I'm not interested in Stranger Things is I'm not a huge fan of the 80s. I know, Eddie, you have said a lot that it captures the 80s really well, and kind of, I think if you like the 80s, you'll be kind of not pushed, but
it'll definitely attract you to the show itself.
That was like, I was about to bring that up, like to gauge if you would be interested in the show in the first place. Like, are you a fan of that era? And you said you're not.
I'm not. Yeah. So like, does that play a huge part in the show?
I mean, it's heavily inspired by a lot of things. Like, did you like Super 8 at all?
I've never watched it.
Oh, okay. Well, I compare a lot to Super 8, which is another movie. It's a movie based in the 80s, and it's similar, like
similar style.
Similar style.
Yeah.
Mostly kid actors.
I will say though that Stranger Things goes to much like darker territory than Super 8. Yeah. Super 8 all the way through, it's
still pretty kid friendly.
It's more Spielberg.
Yeah. But
Stranger Things is more Stephen King. So there's a lot of like horror elements to Stranger Things. It does get like really dark. I mean, the fact that the main characters are kids doesn't matter. Shit happens in the show.
Yeah. These kids are gonna be traumatized.
Exactly.
Probably
pretty much. I actually quite enjoy that aspect of the show, how dark it gets and how like uncompromising it is, despite the fact that they're all kids.
No, completely. I guess the fact that it's in the 80s, like there's not really cell phones, there's no internet, so I guess that could kind of play into like why they can't.
That's right. Yeah,
as effectively as you would today.
Yeah, the era that it takes place in really like it justifies like the stories. You know what I mean? Like points of the story. Like if it took place in modern time, could be solved easily. Yeah. But then because it takes place in the 80s, there's a lot of limitations on the characters. So technologically.
I wonder if that's why like a lot of people like a lot of movies they were based in that time, that setting, the 80s,
because you can get a lot more conflict out of it.
Yeah.
Due to the limitations.
Yeah, because I'm just gonna completely like kind of not derail, but like that anime Parasite, that story is originally in the 80s. Oh, but in the anime adaptation, they made it.
They modernized it?
They kind of modernized it a little bit because they have cell phones and stuff.
Yeah.
But technically, that took place in the 80s.
Okay.
So I mean, there's some plot hole, like, or some weird plot hole things in that show.
And like you're saying that when a show updates like a 80s based story, holes form
a little bit. Yeah. At least in that story, there was some.
So basically, for this environment and setting for the story, the 80s is very appropriate for this situation.
Yeah, I think so.
And they, I mean, again, not that this is a selling factor for me, but they capture the 80s very well.
I think so. Yeah, the music, the soundtrack alone. Is really fucking good, and it's very 80s inspired. There's a lot of synth music.
Well, that's the thing. I can't say that it captures the 80s well because I wasn't alive at that time, but it captures 80s cinema, like the feeling of 80s cinema, like really well.
Oh, okay.
Like like a Goonies, like Stand By Me, stuff like that. So
that's an important thing to note too, because I never really thought about that. Is that the 80s cinema did have a very feel and style
it had a certain style to it.
Yeah, so I think that I think that's anybody who likes film, even if they don't watch the show, can appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so.
But I don't want to give you the wrong idea. This show, like, it has great style. This 80s style. It's all wrapped up in this like 80s aesthetic.
Right.
But the actual story that that's inside this aesthetic is like solid. It's a great story with like good twists and everything like that.
Right.
So it stands on its own as like a piece of like fiction.
Right.
It doesn't feel like there's unnecessary scenes or very like maybe the what's his name, Will's sister, or not Will, Mike's sister.
Oh, you mean Nancy?
Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah.
But even then, her character gets more interesting towards the end too.
That's true. Yeah, like but that's kind of like a, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it's kind of a homage to like those old 80s movies where there would always be like the kid plot, the adult plot, and then the teenager plot, and always the teenager plot's kind of irrelevant until like the very end.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like how the Goonies was, I feel.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sure.
Okay.
But yeah, and a lot of those like archetypes and cliches that happen in 80s cinema, they kind of get turned on their heads in Stranger Things, so that's kind of appreciated.
Third and final little, not gripe, but kind of something that kind of turns me away.
Thing that is blocking you from like, exploring.
I'm not the biggest fan of sci-fi. I can appreciate every once in a while for like the big franchises like Star Wars, even Star Trek, Marvel, one of like the few exceptions that I make for sci-fi. I don't really go out and try and find sci-fi. I usually tend to appreciate non-fiction material more in my TV shows and I guess something a little bit more grounded with reality.
Well, I actually kind of have a counter to that. This show, while it does have sci-fi elements, is not primarily a sci-fi show.
Right.
But then that gets into like another like question is that, are you into horror? Are you into horror? Are you into mystery? Are you into adventure? You know, it has sci-fi elements, but that's not the main like point of the show.
So it's not going to be always shoved into my face.
No,
it's a sci-fi show.
Not at all. No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, there's certain parts where like they have to explain certain science things.
They do, but then it's like it ties into like this more like fantastical plot.
Yeah, there's a reason for it. It's not always in your face, or it's like every episode it's like, oh, there's a sci-fi thing we have to explain.
That's right. It's not like old style Star Trek where they had to explain like a new tech every episode.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's like I mean, do you like you've read Stephen King before, right?
Oh yeah, Jobby, you made that connection with Stephen King.
Mm-hmm. Even like I think the font of the logo of Stranger Things looks like it looks like a Stephen King like production. I don't know.
One of the movies.
Yeah, like one of his movies had that exact same font, but I can't quite put it. Put down in the comments below.
But Jobby made that connection with Stephen King, and I love Stephen King. I mean, I love the whole thriller and horror as genre that he covers so well in his books. So that's why I think that is something you've said in the past that kind of has gotten me interested into it. Because Stephen King is one of my favorite authors.
Because it's not a show where it's like it's dependent on jump scares or things like that.
Right.
Like
No,
it builds
not
tension.
at all.
It's
suspense. Like, some scenes are like genuinely like unsettling. You know, it's the horror scenes are done well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Stranger Things. I am going to watch it. I'm gonna give it the old college try. Because I've heard a lot of good things from it, not only from you guys, but from the general consensus is that it is just a good show. I've heard a lot, which you guys touched about the horror aspects a little bit, but I've been told that it's like legitimately a creepy show. It gives you you have a hard time sleeping at night because you're like looking up like over your shoulder.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, but I've heard people say that.
Right.
They're like,
it will definitely scare some people.
They're gonna put a flashlight on while they're walking through the corridor.
Those with weaker will maybe startle.
The weak ones.
But the fact that it has had that impact on people, I mean, I think that speaks volumes for the show. Another thing is I think I can get past the main cast being children. Just because I like what Eddie said about E. They call her E, right? L. Her performance, I've heard good things of. So I think that's worth watching because maybe she's the future of cinema and television show, acting wise.
Oh, and you might want to keep an eye on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not a pedophile way.
No, not at all.
As far as the 80s go, again, still not too interested in that aspect, but I mean, I can just put that in the back of my mind. That doesn't have to be something that stands out. Like you said, it's not something that's really in your face, like really forced down your throat. You also said that the sci-fi aspect isn't also. It's not. I mean, it's there, but it's not also not something that. It's still a show. It's still like there are children there, and they kind of delve into their, I guess, problems or their lives.
It's more emotional. It's not focused on the sci-fi aspect. It's more about character.
Yeah, because I mean, their friends, they're really good friends missing, and they want to look for him.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with that being said, I think I will watch it, and I will check back in with you guys to see whether I like the show in general. We can revisit this episode and see whether I liked it or not.
All right.
That's pretty good. Well, I just want to say, of course you're gonna watch the show because we're so convincing. Also, you have a giant light point in your face, and we're two people staring you down. So, like, of course you're gonna watch the show. And if you're not gonna watch the show, well, you're wrong.
And we're gonna break your fucking kneecaps.
Pretty much. Yeah. Leave down in the comments below whether or not you're gonna check out Stranger Things, and if you have, tell us what you think of it down below. So,
or try to convince Miguel he should watch it too.
Yeah, pretty much.
He'll listen to you way more than he will listen to us.
Follow him on Twitter at @TheGreatMigs, and just spam his notification box.
There
please.
you go.
Just spam him with Stranger Things memes.
spam at @TheGreatMigs. Spam at @BrokeBoard.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, at BrokeBoard.
Spam him with all the Barb fan art that you can find. Hashtag dicks out for Barb.
If you guys like this show, you should be watching. Please let us know in the comment section down below as well. I think we have a lot of high hopes for this show. So if you guys didn't like it, tell us maybe some suggestions. Why you don't like it. Some suggestions to maybe fix it.
Why you're wrong.
And as always, share with your friends, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We will catch you guys on the next one.
Bye-bye. You should be watching.